everyone, I'm Amy and this is thericelover.com. Today we're going to be making one of my favorite Chinese stir fries, long hot peppers with meat strips. So specifically we're using pork loin today. This is a segment of a whole pork loin that I bought at Costco. To go with the pork, we'll be using long hot peppers. These are kind of in a similar realm to a famous Sichuan pepper called arjingtiao. I got these at Fresh Go-Go. They're nice, moderate spicy, so these are gonna be the main vegetable component of the dish today. The main goal for today, other than making, of course, this delicious stir fry, is to show you a little bit about how to stir fry at home in a standard kitchen. There's a lot of information floating out there on the internet about how you need like 150,000 BTUs, giant jet engine type gas burner to really get a nice Chinese stir fry. But with the right equipment and a couple sound choices in how we do the stir fry technique, it's actually totally possible to do restaurant quality stir fry at home. I'm going to start by cutting 6 ounces of this pork loin. The pork loin needs to be cut into 3mm strips, and we want to cut against the grain. So cutting against the grain lets us shorten the muscle fibers, which will make the meat more tender. To do that, I'm going to start by cutting this into slices. So these are about 3mm slices. Stack this up, and then you can see here the way the grain runs. I'll link a picture as well down below so you can see it kind of close up. But the grain runs this way. You can kind of see the muscle fibers are running this way. So what we're going to do is cut against the grain. So with the grain running this direction, we're going to cut perpendicular. So I'm going to stack up a few of these, and then we'll just cut into strips. And this is the way to get the most tender meat. The first step is to make sure that you cut the meat the right direction.
This pork loin is a really lean and healthy cut of meat, but you'll find with this traditional Chinese marinade, it still makes for a tender and succulent stir fry. I'd recommend pork instead of beef, which tends to become tough if it's not tenderized. The other great thing about pork loin is that it's very economical. I paid $1.50 per pound at Costco for whole boneless pork loin. This piece I'm cutting is 12 ounces, and today we'll only be cooking half of it. It's much easier to julienne meats when they're still partially frozen because they're solid and cut cleanly. I'd recommend about 10 hours to defrost in the refrigerator for a frozen block this size. This piece has actually been in the fridge for about 24 hours, so it's a bit squishier and harder to cut. Okay, now that we're done julienning, let's make the marinade. It's 1/4 teaspoon of dark soy sauce for flavor as well as color. 1/4 teaspoon of light soy sauce, also for flavor. 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. And 1/4 teaspoon of ground white pepper. We'll give that a stir so that all of the flavorings fully absorb into the meat. And then we'll add 1 teaspoon of Shaoxing cooking wine to reduce the gaminess of the meat and also tenderize it. This is a typical Chinese marinade, so it's a drier marinade. We're looking for the meat to absorb all of the marinade so that it takes on all the flavor without adding moisture to the stir fry. Stir well until the liquid is fully absorbed. Add 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. The cornstarch combines with the liquid in the marinade and in the meat to form a protective coating on the outside of the pork strips. This will keep the meat from becoming tough when we drop it into the pan. And then lastly, add 1/2 teaspoon of neutral cooking oil. I'm using avocado oil here because it is safe to really high heat. This will keep the meat from clumping when we start stir frying. We'll let the meat marinate for 15 minutes. While that's going, we can prep the remaining ingredients. This is 8 ounces or 240 grams of long hot peppers, also known as niu jiao jiao or cow horned peppers. You can use any sizable thin-skinned pepper like Anaheim chilies, banana peppers, or green Sichuan arjingtiao. Slice these thinly, about 2 millimeters, and on the bias. In Chinese stir fry, we want the size and shape of all ingredients to be similar. This helps the dish cook evenly, and it also is more pleasing to the eye. You can see I'm wearing a plastic food service glove on my left hand, so I don't end up rubbing pepper juice in my eyes later. I'll include a link to those down below. They're great for spicy or messy tasks. These aren't pretty huge on me though, so do be careful. They make knife work a bit clumsy. Next, we'll mince up some ginger root. This is 4 slices, or about 2 teaspoons of minced ginger. It's a traditional ingredient in Chinese stir-fries to reduce the gaminess of meat. It also adds a nice warmth to the dish. Finally, we'll mince up 3 cloves of garlic for flavor. The easiest way to peel garlic is to cut off the root end and lightly smash it with the side of your knife or bench scraper. Peel the garlic and then smash it some more to release the flavor and mince it up. And that's it for ingredients for this dish.
Right, so while that meat was marinating, I did a little bit of cleanup. Now we're getting ready to stir fry. My last tip for indoor stir fry, specifically if you have, like me, a pretty wimpy range hood. So I have one of those kind of microwave range hood combos that circulate all of the grease and everything kind of through some filters and basically right back into your face. Because these peppers are a little bit on the spicy side, it does end up basically being like a little bit of like aerosolized pepper spray, especially because this range hood just spits most of the things back out. So my kind of solution for that is, this is a KN95 respirator. This is one of those like non-medical respirator masks. So I'm gonna wear one of these to keep from kind of choking on pepper fumes. And then to keep my hair from smelling like stir fry, whether it's spicy or not, I often like to wear a plastic shower cap. So I'm gonna put this guy on.
I'm calling this Get Up Stir Fry PPE. Obviously, if your range hood is up to the task, this won't be necessary, but if not, I find it pretty helpful. I'm cooking on a Duxtop brand induction burner. Induction is way more efficient than the electric range in my rental apartment kitchen. It uses changing magnetic fields to generate an electric current directly in the pan. That means that it's the pan instead of the cooktop that heats up, so we can get screaming high heat even in a home kitchen. Plus, if you have kids or pets around, it's also much safer than electric or gas. We're turning the heat up to 5.5, which is about 300 Fahrenheit or 150 Celsius. For the pan, a carbon steel wok is the way to go. Like cast iron, carbon steel is safe to use at very high heat, but it's much thinner and lighter, so it heats up and cools down quickly. When seasoned properly, it's also completely non-stick. This is the same material as Chinese restaurant woks. Once the pan heats up, which will only take a few seconds, add 1 tablespoon of neutral cooking oil. I stir fry with avocado oil because it has a really high smoke point. We want to be pretty generous with the oil since the pork loin is so lean, and we don't want our ingredients to stick to the pan. Add in the marinated pork and keep it moving to prevent it from clumping together or sticking to the pan. We'll cook this until the meat is no longer raw on the outside. The inside will still be rare for now, but it'll continue to cook with the peppers. This is how we'll ensure that the meat remains tender. This is a wok spoon, a long-handled, very shallow ladle. It's a traditional tool to use with a wok, and my favorite tool for stir fry. I'll include links to all of the equipment down below. Once the surface of the meat is no longer translucent, add in your minced garlic and ginger and toss everything until the aromatics are nice and fragrant. It's important not to add the garlic earlier because it tends to burn, and burnt garlic is very bitter. Turn the heat up to max. That's 10 out of 10 on this Duxtop. It's labeled as 460 degrees Fahrenheit or 240 Celsius, but the surface temperatures are actually quite a bit higher. Add in the sliced peppers and keep tossing until they're cooked through but still nice and crisp. The traditional wok tossing technique, called dianguo or diansao, involves lifting the pan off the gas and tossing the ingredients in the air. But my method for induction achieves the same results. We're maintaining contact with the cooktop because we don't have flames from a gas range coming up the side of the pan to keep it hot. You'll see that my left hand is moving the wok in a push-pull motion, while my right hand moves the wok spoon back and forth. We use the wok spoon to stir the ingredients, and also to keep them from flying out of the pan. It's important to keep the ingredients moving the whole time so that they don't burn. A 14-inch wok like this one is the perfect size for any home kitchen, and it'll cook up to 4 servings. We want plenty of space in the pan to move the ingredients around. Plus, it's really important not to crowd the pan. If there's too much food in there, we'll end up with steamed peppers instead of stir fry. This recipe is actually about the maximum I'd recommend for stir frying at home. If you want to double the recipe, cook it in 2 batches. Once the peppers are cooked, we'll add the seasonings. Turn the heat down to medium so the ingredients don't scorch. We're using 1 teaspoon of light soy sauce drizzled along the side of the pan. This is Pearl River Bridge Zhujiangqiao, my favorite brand. Give that a quick stir. Next, we'll add salt to taste. I used 1/4 teaspoon. Sprinkle in 3/4 teaspoon of sugar, which helps to soften the heat from the peppers and also highlights the umami in the whole dish. Stir well so that the seasonings are fully distributed. Now turn the heat up to medium-high, that's 7.0 on this range. The last ingredient is 2 teaspoons of Chinese black vinegar, aka Qingqiang vinegar. This is Gold Plum brand 金梅牌镇江香醋. This vinegar really doesn't substitute well because it has a wonderful and unique aroma that's really perfect for this dish. Fortunately, it's easy to buy online, so I'll include a link to that down below as well. Continue tossing until the sour smell from the vinegar dissipates and only the aroma remains. At this point, we're ready to plate it up.
I'll include a link to the detailed recipe on my blog. That's thericelover.com. Please let me know if you have any questions or requests for future videos. And if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and click to subscribe. See you next time, and happy cooking!